Okay, welcome back everyone for another deep dive. We are jumping into the world of crypto. Early 2025, things are getting interesting.
Yeah, definitely heating up.
Yeah, for sure. You sent over some fascinating articles,
Uh-huh.
especially about, well, Tether, right?
Yeah.
Which always seems to be, well, I guess everyone's talking about those new European regulations. That's
Hmm.
kind of the big thing.
Yeah, definitely.
So let's unpack what's happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tether, you test DT. I mean, for anyone who's listening who's not super familiar, we're talking a stable coin here,
Right.
which means it's designed to hold a steady value,
Mm.
pegged to usually a traditional currency like the US dollar.
Mm-hmm.
But it's huge EE in the crypto world.
Absolutely.
I don't think anyone would disagree with that.
Yeah.
But
Without its controversy.
yeah, there's some baggage there for sure.
Mm-hmm.
We'll dig into those juicy details for sure.
Yeah, let's do it.
And alongside how the European Union's MiCA regulations are shaking things up
Yeah.
for crypto across the whole continent, really.
Big changes.
Yeah. So I guess maybe let's start with Tether,
Okay.
the elephant in the room,
Right.
as they say.
Right.
It seems like they just can't shake this like negative press.
Yeah. It's like, we saw it even back in like 2018.
Yeah, exactly. It's like this sense of deja vu.
Well, it's seen this movie before.
Totally. But then you look at their financial reports.
Right.
They're boasting, what was it, a $5 billion net profit?
Okay, billion.
In just the first half of 2024. So it's like,
It makes you wonder, right?
yeah, what's the real story here? What do you make of that?
I think this contradiction is really key, right? Like there's this disconnect between like market perception
Yeah.
and the financial reality of Tether. And I mean that negative press they get, it definitely like impacts sentiment, even if it doesn't necessarily reflect like their actual operational strength.
Right.
But I think it also suggests that Tether's found a way to operate, really profitably
Right.
in this kind of controversial space.
Okay, so that makes sense, right? It's like everyone's waiting for the other shoe to drop,
Right, exactly.
but they just keep chugging along,
They're still
making money.
Mhm.
So while Tether's navigating those choppy waters,
Right.
I guess, like you said, the European Union has kind of thrown a wrench in the gears with these MiCA regulations.
Yeah. Yeah.
And from my understanding, it's pretty sweeping.
It is. It's pretty ambitious.
Yeah.
It's like their attempt to like regulate the entire crypto market.
Yeah.
Really.
Okay. So what's kind of the gist of it? Like, what are they trying to do?
Well, you can think of it almost like a comprehensive rule book for crypto in Europe. And they have like three core goals, I'd say. So the first is increased investor protection. So, more safeguards against scams, those really risky projects.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, I guess protect people from losing their shirts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They want to make sure that the average person who's getting into crypto is not going to get completely burned, right? The second thing is financial stability. They want to ensure that the whole system is stable, it's not going to crash easily.
Right.
They're trying to avoid another, FTX situation. And then finally, they're pushing for much stricter operational requirements, right? So they want these crypto companies to be way more transparent.
Okay. Yeah. So, less of the Wild West
Yeah, exactly. They want to bring some order.
and a little more, law and order.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it sounds like MiCA's, it's already having a real impact, right?
It is.
I mean, we see big exchanges like OKX are already delisting Tether pairs for European users.
Hmm.
So what's the takeaway there for someone like me?
Mm-hmm.
Someone who has a crypto portfolio.
Yeah.
What do I need to know?
So that's a great question.
Hmm.
And it speaks to the direct impact that these regulations are having. If you're heavily reliant on Tether, particularly in European markets, I think diversification is key.
Okay.
Explore other stablecoins like USDC or look into euro-based trading pairs just to minimize any potential disruption.
Okay. That's good advice.
Yeah.
So as exchanges are scrambling,
Right.
I mean, Tether's taking kind of an interesting approach here. They're choosing not to directly comply with MiCA in Europe,
Right.
but instead they're focusing on places like the U.S.,
Mhm.
the Middle East.
Yeah.
And here's the kicker, right? They've invested in Stiebler,
Uh-huh.
which is a deal company
Yeah.
that's providing a euro-pegged stablecoin that is MiCA compliant.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like they're trying to have their cake and eat it too.
Yeah, it's a really smart move. And I think that's where Tether's strategy gets really clever.
Yeah.
By going through Stiebler, they gain this indirect access to the European market
Okay.
without having to deal with MiCA's like regulatory hurdles directly. They're really focusing on markets where regulations are, already well established
Yeah.
or perhaps a little more favorable.
Makes sense.
So
They're playing the long game,
they are.
hedging their bets.
Mm-hmm.
I like it.
Yeah.
So while Tether's kind of maneuvering around,
Right.
the broader market has been, doing its thing as always.
It always is.
Bitcoin saw some outflows recently, right?
It did, yeah.
As big investors kind of shuffled their portfolios.
Yeah.
But Ethereum seems to be holding strong, even gaining ground against Bitcoin. What do you make of that?
Yeah, so you're right. Bitcoin did see some outflows, but that was primarily institutional investors rebalancing their portfolios at the end of the year.
Okay.
Right. So that's not necessarily like a huge red flag. It's just, kind of normal year-end behavior.
Okay.
Ethereum, on the other hand, has shown real resilience, especially when you look at its performance against Bitcoin. But what's fascinating is that while the altcoin market is correcting,
Right.
we're seeing signs of accumulation,
Okay.
particularly within the Ethereum ecosystem.
What does that mean?
So that means that large players are kind of quietly buying up
Okay.
certain altcoins, which suggests that they believe that, these assets are currently undervalued.
Interesting.
And so that could create an opportunity for savvy investors.
So there might be some bargains out there
There might be.
if you know where to look.
If you do your research.
And how do these trends, I guess, tie into the bigger picture, the bigger economic picture? I read something about declining 10-year yield rates,
Right.
potentially boosting Ethereum and other altcoins. What's your take on that?
Yeah. So I think it's really important to remember that the crypto market doesn't exist in a vacuum, right? Broader economic trends have a huge impact.
Right.
And yes, those declining yields could make assets like Ethereum more attractive to investors who are, searching for better returns
Right.
in a low-yield world.
Okay, so there's a lot to consider here. To kind of wrap things up, I think it's safe to say that the crypto world is at a crossroads.
Yeah.
Tether's story, with all its controversies, the impressive profits,
Right.
it just shows how complex this space really is.
Yeah.
And MiCA is definitely a game changer, even with that 18-month transition period. It's not like a flip the switch kind of thing.
No, it's a process.
Right. But it's an evolution.
Definitely.
And that's going to, I think, create challenges and opportunities.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And as you navigate your own crypto journey, I want you to think about this. Is decentralization truly achievable as regulation, kind of tightens its grip?
Right. Or could these regulations actually be the thing that, brings wider adoption and stability, even though it seems like kind of the opposite of decentralization? It's a question worth pondering.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah.
Something to think about. A lot to think about.
There is.
And remember, you can find links to all the articles we discussed in the show notes.
Yeah, check them out.
Happy diving.
Happy diving.